Okay, so really wonderful to have a master class by someone who is the part of the game and who is actually defining uh, the, the whole arena in the field of digitization, in the field of infrastructure. So thanks very much, Mr. Dani, for taking time out and sharing your perspective. We have collected the questions from our participants, from the students, and I have kind of put it in some buckets about technology, about business, leadership, about strategy, and also a little bit about your personal experience. Uh, so this is a tech fest, and most of the technology enthusiasts whom you are seeing sitting in front, we would like to learn a little more about how digitization is happening in your group, because this is an infrastructure intense group, and so to say, it's a kind of a conventional industry. So changing the processes which are related to infrastructure projects are very complex. How you are leading this digitization process in the legacy companies and the companies, and how uh, even in last 2 years, even in the airport business, a lot of new disruptive technologies have come. So how are you leading this?
No, so a couple of things. One is, when you look at an infrastructure business, there's two parts to it. One is building the infrastructure, and the second is operating it. We're putting technology behind both of those aspects. So let me touch upon the building aspect. Obviously, when you're building something that is complex, large, spread out, there's a lot of challenges that we see in terms of supply chain, vendors, engineering, and if you go back to how it was being done, and to some extent is still being done today, it's a very traditional sort of serial way a project moves forward. What we are trying to do, and to some extent have been successful in doing, is actually speed up this part of building an asset. So when it comes to engineering, how do we make sure we do concurrent engineering on a collaborative way, so that you manage the clashes and it happens in a repeatable way. So that's one thing. But let me tell you, we're not inventing anything here. We're just simply taking the best practices that we see in the world, and even for this, something that I spoke about is it's a tool for us. Technology is a tool just to make us faster at doing what we do best, and we feel that this is something, if we don't do, we won't survive. It's a genuine matter of survival as we go. So that's one part around how, when we're building things. Obviously, there's other examples when it comes to supply chain, making sure that we reduce the cost of working capital that goes in by making sure everything comes just in time. The whole part around scheduling, smart scheduling, and real-time information tracking. That's what on the construction side we're doing. The second part is when we operate, and this is where it gets really challenging. Uh, for something that we build new, it's easy to do because you think about it in the design stage itself. That how do I make sure that an airport, for example, is planned and designed with smart sensors in every place. A silly example I give everyone is India's been independent for over 70 years now. Um, we still haven't figured out how airport bathrooms can stop stinking. And today it's very simple to do so. Any one of you guys here would be able to figure it out. But I think it's a very silly example, but that's to the point where I'm saying that with Navi Mumbai, which is our first fully greenfield indigenously designed airport, we're making sure that we sensorize each and every aspect of maintenance, housekeeping, services, retail, so that when we are running the airport, we don't need to have a lot of manual processes. A lot of things happen in an automated way. But yes, at the end of the day, there's still some amount of manual intervention that's required. It just happens more seamlessly. And what technology will allow us to do is to make sure that one is we keep track of everything, we measure efficiency, and we push efficiency. So So we're able to identify areas which are serving as bottlenecks for us and keep pushing that to maximize productivity, maximize throughput to the airports. So that's an example of how we're doing, bringing in technology at airports. But this is happening across the group. With renewables, with our current capacity of about 11 gigawatts operating, we have upwards of 40 million solar panels on the field. Each and every solar panel is tracked remotely, and if there's any discrepancy in terms of generation versus, theoretical versus real actual generation, within a 15-minute interval, a flag comes off and someone is notified. So we make sure that the productivity of our assets is the highest in as compared to our competitors, and that's what technology has allowed us to do.
Great. So this is one the technology part. And but I'm sure with the legacy companies you have manpower who is there with you for so many years. So how you prepare your people to adapt to this technological transformation?
So it's definitely a big challenge. I'm not going to lie and say it's easy to adopt technology, especially in a large organization. I'm actually envious of startups who can overnight adopt something, don't have systems, process, people, or organization to deal with. Because with the old organization, a lot of inertia comes in terms of adopting or embracing a change. The only way, two ways of doing this. One is obviously us being a family-driven company, we're able to push a lot of things from the family, but top-down can only achieve so much. We have to invest in training people, and one thing that we realized is even people with traditional mindsets, once they realize the potential value that they are being able to generate, or basic simple tasks become easier. The adoption really picks up really quickly. That's a 30,000 feet view. I mean, there's a lot of detailing behind it, but that's primarily how we look at it. That you have to do proper training, proper demonstration, be it through power users, etc., to drive greater adoption. But it has to start with a top-down push.
Okay, so would you like to share some of the innovations in the organization happening? There's one thing called developing altogether new technology, which is not the job of the corporates, actually it's the job of the institutions and laboratories. But a lot of day-to-day innovation happen. Even if you adopt a technology, innovation happens in the form of improvisation, adaptation, making it kind of suitable to your context. Since you have kind of seen quite a few businesses and youngest person in the family, we assume that you are the most tech-savvy person as well. So would you like to share some of the innovations which have happened in the process of implementing some of these major decisions?
Yeah, so on a lighter note, I'm not the most tech-savvy person. Our chairman is the most tech-savvy person because he's always browsing and trying new things. So, but
actually, there is
so
a whole
he pushes
section
us.
about your chairman.
Yeah, exactly.
We are going to come to that a little later.
No worries. When it comes to, you're 100% right, when it comes to technology or innovation, it's incremental innovation over a long period of time that drives sustainable change. And that's what you would teach here, that's what I've learned in college. For this, very few things actually occur, or very few innovations happen, like AI for example, which create a step jump in overall productivity or how the way of life is. The smartphone was one, internet was one, AI is one now. But most of the innovations are unseen. And that's what we focus on. I don't think we pride ourselves in being an organization that will adopt every new thing that happens. Because at the end of the day, we are operating critical infrastructure. So we always have to balance risk of something new versus the stability of something proven. And 99% of the time we go for stability and wait for the new things to be proven and stabilized and adopted across a wider spectrum before we would adopt it in our operational, or in our critical parts. That being said, there's a lot of non-critical areas that we have. As an example, office productivity. It's not something that's super critical. So that's where we push people to sort of start using Copilot or Teams meetings for interviews that happen with real-time video analytics, and we keep trying new things. I would say the success rate is not very high, but the good thing is every now and then something clicks, and as soon as something clicks, the adoption across the organization, purely based on word of mouth, not even being pushed from the top, is quite quick. And most of this, I'm happy to say that most of this innovation is driven by the team. None of this is actually, there's no central group that says that, okay, bhai, ye naya cheez hai, ab sab try karo. There's nothing like that happens. A lot of it actually comes from a lot of the young graduates that we hire, and it's our responsibility to encourage more and more of this. In large organizations, that's something that a lot of times gets missed out or sort of swept under the carpet, where freshers coming in, their ideas aren't sort of respected, and that's the culture that we're trying to build. That how do we get new ideas in and not be stuck with just what we have.
That's so wonderful. It's really like a masterclass, because in our courses we teach that innovation is not like a lottery. You get a jackpot. Actually, it's like a funnel, and you have to keep on doing things, keep trying things, and then few things become kind of world sees that as a jackpot, but that there is a conscious effort behind it.
I don't think anything in life happens like that. I think it's always incremental.
That's wonderful. So wise word. We all must remember. Since you have been involved in this strategic acquisition of a port, and now you are looking at airport, this at the larger level that is connected to the supply chain, the overall, and that is one of the, you can say, the bottlenecks of India's growth, because if we compare China and India, the supply chain agility is a major differentiator. So, how do you see India evolving and kind of catching up to that aspect of the competitive edge?
So, let me take it in two parts. One is on the logistics supply chain. Definitely, India is improving, but it's still far behind a lot of developed economies. If you purely look at the logistics cost as a percentage of the GDP, India is at about 13%, if I'm not wrong. While most developed economies are at around 7-8%.
7%, yes.
And while it's a percentage cost which a lot of us won't understand, what that means is that we're inherently not as competitive in manufacturing. And that's the biggest challenge India has today. The good thing is, the only way to improve this is by building world-class infrastructure. And the government policy, private players, everyone has already understood this and are investing in infrastructure, be it roads, railways, ports, airports, from a manufacturing point of view, to catalyze the growth in the manufacturing sector. And this is something that China did. China built ports that were bigger than anyone else had ever seen at a point in time where people literally asked them, "Are you mad?" And now that the story is written, we know exactly how it was being taught. And I think that's a note that India is also taking, that don't build for 2 years from now, because the growth that we're seeing, by the time you build it, you're going to be out of capacity. And you will always be, it's like running on a treadmill, you'll be running backwards if anything. So as a group, what we're doing when we're investing in ports or roads, railways, terminals, inland container terminals, we're investing keeping in mind a 10-year growth, a 10-year horizon. That how do we, because it takes 2 to 3 years to build physical assets. It's not like technology or software where you can build it in a short period of time. You have to plan for a longer term horizon, and given the sheer growth and momentum of this country, we know that even 10 years is not going to be enough, but at least to be balanced, we're planning for 10 years ahead, building capacity for 10 years, and then we'll see, as soon as you provide the infrastructure, everyone in the world will come and say, "Boss, mujhe chahiye." Now coming to consumers with airports, it's exactly the same story. If you look at Mumbai, and Mumbai is a classic example of what happened in this. 2006, both Mumbai and Delhi airports got privatized, and a lot of us, we won't remember, but Mumbai was actually bigger than Delhi in terms of passenger traffic. But Delhi had a much larger capacity footprint to expand into as compared to Mumbai. So Mumbai needed a new airport 10 years ago. It's great that it's happening finally, but this should have been done 10 years ago because what we saw was 2014, Delhi surpassed Mumbai. Mumbai was growing faster than Delhi, but it's a single runway airport. You can't expand beyond a certain limit. And that again goes to the point where capacity, we think that the air traffic is going to grow 11%, 12% on a normalized basis. It's grown 15%. So year on year, supply has always, or demand has always beaten supply. And that's one thing which I would tell everyone is that don't underestimate the power of India. I think our consumers, our demography is so powerful that anything you think is not going to work because it's too small, it's never going to be the case. It's always going to be bigger than you imagine.
Again, great lesson. Now, this is a little bit of a selfish question. Means, we really want to take the benefit of your presence here, and a lot of tech buffs, our students have asked, what are the areas? Let me give you a little bit of background. It is having your own startup and business idea, sound business idea is one of the coolest thing considered to be on our campus these days. I joined here 15 years ago, and that time getting a finance job was the coolest thing, but now that is not. Every kind of other student is looking for some good idea, wishes to invest time and effort, and want to build something on the technological platform. By the time they are here, not like when they go out and that time they will start it. So our incubation center is getting a lot of application these days. The number of patents have gone 3 times in last 3 years. All that has happened. Would you like to share some of the fields based on your experience? What are the areas where they should look for that deep tech or other technological kind of innovations and ventures?
So, I'm also an engineer. Getting a finance job was always boring. No, but
you have done a lot of finance.
Yeah. No. I think if you look at, to answer your question on what fields should people be looking at, I don't think there's a particular subset. It really depends on what you're interested in, because every single field today has a potential for disruption. And to be successful, you have to disrupt something. It can be the smallest thing. Look at Zepto or Instamart for an example. Did they reinvent technology? No. I think they just looked at a traditional business model and said that I can do it better. And today you see Kirana stores are getting disrupted. So I would say that there's no particular field. Consumers are obviously, that's the sort of blue-eyed, industry a lot of people want to work in. But even in deep tech areas like healthcare, biorobotics, medical robotics, biomedical devices, aerospace, everything is ripe for disruption. All it takes is your own interest, and no field is too small. I think that's the idea. Personally, I can only talk about myself. I definitely think with healthcare there's a lot of potential when it comes to genomics, coupled with AI and quantum computing. If I look at a very, very far down the line technology architecture, if you really combine these 3 things together, you completely get rid of generic medicine. Because each and every person's physiology and biology is different. How my genetic buildup reacts to a crocin is different from how yours would. And if I have the ability to synthesize and formulate medicine at a micro scale using my genomics, I think that would completely revolutionize the medical industry and the way healthcare is delivered. That being said, I'm not considering affordability or anything. This is pure technology speaking. But yeah, I think there's no field that's too small. This is what excites me the most. Longevity, medicine. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening there, and obviously around infrastructure. How we can boost productivity of our existing infrastructure that and change the way we use our in the existing infrastructure, and that will create outsized value. Yeah, that's a couple of things that excite me at least. But really, it's up to all of you guys. You have to find your own field. You have to find what excites you the most, and don't be afraid to pursue your dream. There's a million reasons of saying no, and you have to find your reason to say yes.
Wonderful, great. Thanks very much. When you were talking about this customization of the medicine, I would like to kind of have some words and hear from you about the inspiration from. We get a lot of inspiration from the chairman of the group, Mr. Gautam Adani. He's the first generation entrepreneur in that sense, and what he has created is fantastic. I have had opportunity of working with the Adani Group in some projects, and last year when we were concluding a leadership development program, Dr. Malay was here to kind of conclude that program. So this is one question I always wanted to ask about the chairman of the group. I asked Dr. Malay that your group and your leadership has taken all sort of complex projects. Understandable, appreciation, that is, you make this country proud. What was the aspiration behind taking the transformation of this, the world biggest slum area? And Dr. Malay said that my chairman's answer was that, if we don't do it, I don't know who will do it. But this is something very, very important to be done, so we should take it up. So these are the kind of anecdote comes, but everybody is very keen to hear what has been your experience and what you have learned. I'm sure you have learned so many things just by observing.
No, it's I would say he's life's biggest teacher, and I'm extremely lucky to be able to observe him 24/7. As a man, he is a force of sheer determination, and his ability to take up any opportunity and maximize what you can do with it is unbelievable. That being said, he is one of the most human people you would ever meet. His background, where he started from, his entire journey, and this is something he tells us, and tells us all of his stories from when he was growing up. What did he experience? And a lot of people don't know about it, and that background that he has, starting from absolutely nothing, and it's actually funny. He used to study for his 8th or 9th grade exams underneath a lamppost on the street. And take it forward 30 years, he's lighting that lamppost with the energy. And it's that journey that he's come from that allows him to connect to every single person that he would meet. Be it a CEO of a multinational to a peon he would meet at a government office, because he has been there, he has done that, and that's something that he teaches us, that today whatever you may think you have accomplished, yes, be proud of it, but never let it boost your ego. At the end of the day, we are all humans. We have a lot to learn from every single person we meet, and that is one of his biggest lessons to all of us. From a professional note, he's the hardest boss you would ever have. He's an absolute taskmaster, and he expects everyone to perform at their most, because he himself is so passionate about everything that he does. The last thing that he would ever tolerate is sort of half-heartedness. नहीं करना है तो मत करो, करना है तो full 100% डाल के करना है. And that's what makes life interesting. So every single thing that I have taken up in my professional journey. Um, it's always been fun because I have the biggest supporter in him. If anything goes wrong, I go to him for advice, and he will show me the way out. And no day goes by where I don't learn anything. The one thing that inspires me about him is similar to the story that you've taken. Is simple. If any opportunity comes by, he would never say no, because his basic sort of fallback mechanism is कि क्यों नहीं कर सकते. He takes everything up as a challenge, and that's so inspiring to see because growing up, going abroad for study, like I said, we'll find a million reasons to say no to something, but changing your attitude and your mindset to how do we make it possible rather than always thinking why it's not possible. I think that's the biggest inspiration that I've ever gotten from.
Great. You have a legacy to live by. Were there any challenges in your journey, in the professional journey, and how you have handled that? That is also something very interesting.
100%. I think one of the biggest challenges, and it's a professional, personal challenge mixed together. Yeah, it's a professional and personal challenge mixed together. I mean, last year, with the Hindenburg report that came out and all the aftermath of that, it again taught us resilience, how to remain close-knit and again take up everything and bounce back fighting rather than trying to play victim. Besides that, one of my biggest challenges has been with people. Much like a lot of you, I'm also a technologist by nature. And I've never been able to sort of get that soft skill of being able to relate, understand, and connect with people at a very deep level. And this is something that I've worked on over the past couple of years to, to start with, to get off my phone and not always be on my phone. But jokes aside, to be humble, understanding, asking questions about people's lives, and that connect when you make with your own team. The strength that you get is that of a team. You don't get individual strength. It's that we as a team came together and we all depended on each other to be able to solve challenges. And I think that's something that I've been able to develop over the past 4-5 years.
Great. So very important thing about the people skill is that we can never master it. And the most skilled people were the most humble people. Will always say, you are always mesmerized with the depth of the human nature. So that's so wonderful talking to you.